So for my project, I am psychoanalyzing The Fault in Our Stars and Fifth Business. The psychoanalytical theory consists of three main parts. The ID, which is the basic desire, the impulse, or the inner child, and there's no sense of conscience. There's the superego, which is the opposite of the id, the socially imposed learned behavior bringing a sense of guilt. And the ego, which is the balance between the id and the superego. The ego realizes that the id must be satisfied, but that there are socially acceptable ways to satisfy it. So for The Fault in Our Stars, the id would be Augustus because he's very impulsive and has no conscience of other people's feelings. Although he always means well and tries to do things out of good intentions, they do not always result well. For example, Augustus tries to use his wish to fly himself and Hazel to Amsterdam without having spoke to her doctor or her parents to make sure it would be fine. Another example is when they decide to take the tour of Anne Frank's house. Even though he was just going off suggestion, it would have been better had he researched it, as it required climbing a number of steep stairs, which is difficult for Hazel as she has to carry an oxygen tank and struggles with breathing in the first place. In Fifth Business, Percy Boyd best represents the id. Boy is impulsive and he acts like a child and never has remorse for his poor actions or any sense of conscience towards others. Boy has nearly everything that most people could wish for, but yet he takes all of it for granted. He walks all over his wife Leola and by continuing affairs with multiple other women, and he couldn't care less for Boy. He knows that he can depend on his parents' money and acts very spoiled constantly. Boy threw a snowball with a rock inside, intending to hit Dunstan with it, and they were supposedly friends, proving that he doesn't have a conscience. In The Fault in Our Stars, Isaac would be the superego because he always thinks about everyone before himself. He puts people in front of him and has a thorough understanding that to every action there's a reaction. Isaac was very hurt by his ex-girlfriend Monica, and I believe that has something to do with why he treats everyone he meets so greatly. Isaac doesn't show impulse and has a good conscience. The superego in Fifth Business would be Dunny. It's clear that Dunny has a conscience because he feels terribly about the snowball hitting Miss Dempster rather than him. The snowball should have hit Dunny, but fortunately for him, he was able to duck and dodge it. Unfortunately, it hit Miss Dempster and caused her to go into early labor. Dunny spends the rest of his life feeling horribly for his actions, and he feels that he deserves to get hit by the snowball, even though he really didn't. So the ego in The Fault in Our Stars is Hazel, because she does have a sense of impulse but also understands that there are socially acceptable ways to handle the impulse. This is shown when she receives the email from Ludwig inviting them to visit if they ever find themselves in Amsterdam. Right away Hazel gets excited, telling her mother that she needs to go. And when her mother explains to her gently that they don't have the money to go to Amsterdam, she quickly realizes and calms down and that she needs to be a little bit more realistic. In Fifth Business, Leola is the ego because she represents the balance between the id and the superego. She knows that she's previously made impulse moves but shows some sort of conscience for those actions. Even though she told Boy she would wait for him, she dates Dunny briefly, and we know that she does feel badly about her action and eventually ends up back with Boy. When Leola attempts to kill herself, it shows the inner child in her. Maybe it's seeking attention or wanting someone to care for her. However, I can see why her actions would be justified as the way she is treated by her husband. In conclusion, both The Fault in Our Stars and Fifth Business can be analyzed through the psychoanalytical lens. Both novels have characters who fit the criteria for the ID, the superego, and the ego.